Whoever undertakes to become trustworthy must tithe what he eats, what he sells, and what he buys, and may not be the guest of an Amaretz. And Yehuda says, even one who is a guest of an Amaretz is considered trustworthy. They said to him, if he is not trusted regarding himself, how can he be trusted regarding what belongs to others? Whoever undertakes to become a chaver may not sell to an Amaretz anything moist or dry, nor may he buy from him anything moist, and he may not be the guest of an Amaretz,
Now,
nor
why
may
can't he? So why moist or dry? Why can't he buy moist? Because moist means that it's already become wet and it's been mukhsha latuma. That liquid is what's machshir latuma, and since the amaret, since he eats everything batara, even his chulin, so that he can't trust anything that's come from the amaret that's wet. If it's
right.
dry, okay, so then it's not susceptible to tuma, therefore he can purchase it. So that's the thing about a chaver. The chaver is very makpid about tara, even on his cholin.
But he's saying moist or dry.
That's selling to the Amorites because now he's putting a michshol in front of him because now
Ah,
he's going to cause produce to become tameh in Eretz Yisrael.
yeah. Rabbi Huda says, nor may he breed small cattle or be prone to making vows or to jesting, nor may he defile himself by the dead, but he ministers in the house of study. They said to him, these do not come within the principle. The Chachamim did not require the bakers to separate anything except the quantity for truma, maisa, and challah. Shop makers may not sell demai, and all who supply large quantities may sell demai. Who are those who sell in large quantities? Wholesalers and grain dealers. Okay.
Okay, just back on that mission over there. When the bakers don't have to, so what did they exempt the bakers from was Maser Sheni.
Mhm.
So if they got grain that was or flour that was from Demai, then they didn't have to. They did have to separate out the Chumas Maser because that was serious stuff. But the Maser Sheni that came out of it, they didn't. Or if it was Maser Oni, then they wouldn't have to separate out that because that's a tenth. That's quite a lot.
Right.
And that would be a big inconvenience for these for these people.
Wholesalers.
This is their panasa. This is their panasa. Um, and we said over here, there's a difference between wholesalers and retailers. That the wholesalers are allowed to sell demai to other chaver to chaver retailers because they can trust that these are people who are, I'm telling you demai
Mhm.
because the wholesaler's margin is not very big. So for them to now take out to take out the Trumas Maser that they would need to would
Back
be
on
very
the
harmful to them, whereas the retailers have a much bigger markup, so they can afford to take out the Trumas Maser, and so the Chachamim decided to put it on them. It's their duty to do it. However, selling it to an Amaretz would never be permitted if it's not been mastered. Okay. Um, so the last sentence of this Mishnah says, "So who are the ones who are considered Amida Gasa? It's the ones who sell in Amida Gasa are permitted to sell Demai."
Mhm.
Okay, great. So now they're permitted to sell Amida Gasa. So now Rabbi Meir asks, says in the next Mishnah, "Eshe darka lihimaded begasa umadado bedaka." Now, what happens if you have a kind of a produce that's normally sold in a large measure, but he came and he didn't have his large measure handy, so I said, okay, so I'll take a lot more small measures. Okay, so Fela Daka Legase, he says that doesn't make a difference because it's on the produce, it's not on the measure that the issue is over here. So since it's normally sold in a large measure, he is permitted to sell that without separating Chumas Maser. It's shadaka he made bedaka, and if it's a produce that's normally sold in a small measure, umedada bagasa, but he used a large measure for it to fail a gasa ladaka. He says that also doesn't make a difference. It's the din follows the produce, not the measure. The measure is a siman. It's just a siman of what it is. It's not a siba. It's not the reason for it. The reason is the produce itself.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. Ezohi midagasa. So what is considered the midagasa? Biyavesh shloshes kavin. So a 3 kav measure is considered the large measure. Uvalach dinar, and in liquid measure a dinar measure. Now dinar is actually money, but so Gati explains it's a measurement that is sold in for the value of a dinar. Okay, and just to remind you, the Shloshis Kavin is a Chatzisa, which is like basically 6 liters. That would be considered a large measure for dry. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Omer Sale Ta'enim Sale Anavim, baskets of figs and baskets of grapes. The kupos shel yarak, or again, large trays of vegetables. Calls manchu mochran achsara patur. So if he's selling them without measuring them, in other words, he's not weighing them to find out how much he's actually selling. He's selling them by number, in other words. Okay.
Uh,
He's selling. So, for example, you get you get like punnets of things. Normally, what would happen is the wholesalers, if he's selling a whole bunch of grapes to somebody or figs, and he sells them when he sells them by the crate. They don't put the crate on a scale to see how much is in there. They sell by the crate.
they're great.
That's what it is. So he says that's another simon for you. If you're selling things by the crate, that's considered large scale. It's considered wholesale, and therefore they're allowed to sell Demai like that. Okay. But if they're starting to measure the weight, then that's a simon that we're moving into retail now, and it's time to and you have to separate your chumas maser before you can sell it on. Okay. Gimel. Machilin es ha'aniyim demai ve'es ha'achsanya demai. Now, you are allowed to feed certain people demai without separating out the chumas maser from it, because this is just a gezerah, so they won't gozer in all cases. Okay, so we said for aniyim, if you have demai in your home and an ani comes through the door, you're allowed to give him demai and he's allowed to eat it. Okay, achsanya demai, and even an achsanya, that's a the achsanya, the Kahati explains over here, these are the soldiers of the king who are going from place to place, and the people who and the people who of the town have to support them. Okay, so in that respect, they're like aniyim because they're out of home.
I'm out of home, right.
Yeah, and there are so this is Rashi's explanation of it. Rambam gives a different explanation of what's achsanya. It means guests, just like the Chachamim, and he explains it. Just like Chachamim were makil on aniyim because of the mitzvah of tzedakah, so they also were makil on guests to be mechazek the mitzvah of achsanya of haknasas orchim, I guess, and in order to make it easier for the people who are hosting, that they could feed demai to their guests. And this, okay, so this Kahati makes a point over here that this halacha in our Mishnah is there's a machlokes between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. Right, because according to the Bavli, it's mutar for aniyim to eat demai, and they don't need to take maaser from it. But according to the Yerushalmi, they do have to take maaser from it. Okay, and the Amoraim disagree about the parish of the Mishnah. One of them says that we're talking here about aniyim chaverim, right? That you can give it demai to poor poor chaverim, right? They're going to be market, so you have to inform them. Okay, guys, I'm giving you demai, and they can do massive by themselves, but you couldn't give it to Amaya Aretz, no. But one of the Amoraim says no. Our Mishnah is talking about aniyim Amaya Aretz. Because if you say about that it's only about aniyim chaverim, then you're closing the door in front of the aniyim amaretz, because nobody's going to want to give them food because it's not all the tircha, because now he's got to go and take the chumas masa, and he's going to wind up with he's got the tircha of separating out the chumas and the masters, and he's going to have maaseh sheni that he's going to have to take to Yerushalayim and blah blah. What I'd rather just give it to the ani who's a chaver and make it his problem, and that doesn't sound like a good idea, because ultimately you still, even if he's an Amaritz, he's a Jew. And you want to make sure that he gets fed. Okay, and they have the same machlokes about the achsanya. About so Rambam paskins that it's mutar to feed aniyim and guests demai, but you have to inform them, and the ani himself and the guest, if they want to be metaken, they can be metaken. It's interesting that he uses that phrasing. It sounds like that's a chumrah they could take on themselves, but they don't need to.
They don't have to do it, right?
Because it says imratzu. He doesn't say that they must. Okay.
Okay.
So that was a lot of explanation for that first sentence of the Mishnah. Rabban Gamliel hayam machil es po'alav demai. So we see that Rabban Gamliel himself fed his workers demai. Now, this is also an interesting and possibly problematic thing um, because if he obviously his workers he considered aniyim, and so they fell under that gather, and he said, okay, well if they're aniyim, I can give them demai. But the problem is that if he's feeding them in adin, and this is part of their contract that he's got to feed them, then he's not allowed to. Then he's effectively got a debt to them. Now he can't use the demai to pay off his debt. That's not, I can understand when when you're giving tzedakah, okay, you're being nice to your guests, okay, we're going to be makel on you, but this is a debt. You owe the guy this stuff. Now you can't just say, okay, well I'll give him demai to pay it off, and that'll save my trouble. So what they're forced to explain is that Rabban Gamliel fed them a surah that he wasn't chayav to give them, so he was doing it as tzedakah. So it was beyond what he was contractually obligated to give them.
So he made so you're saying he almost made it like a large suitor for them rather than just giving them some.
So basically, instead of the food that he was obligated to give them, he gave them from Mitzukan, and this demai he gave them was more than what he was chayav to give them. Okay. Gabai tzedakah. So people who collect tzedakah. So they're going around and collecting food. They're not just getting coins. People are giving them food that they can give to aniyim. Remember, we had that in Maseches Peah of the people who are going and collecting for the tamchoi. Okay, this is food that's going from one person and then going to another. Okay,
I don't know. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah. So Beis Shammai omrim nosnin is ha'ma'usar l'she'ena ma'aser ve'es she'ena ma'usar l'ma'aser. So so Beis Shammai say they should do a clever thing over here. When they're collecting food from chaverim, they should put it into the bag that comes from chaverim, because they know that anything that comes from a chaver has already been mitzukan, but anything that comes from an amaret is demai. So so they keep that in a separate bag, and then when they go out to distribute, then they give things from the chaver bag to the aniyim who are amei aretz, and things from the amei aretz bag to the chaverim, because they know that that one way or another everyone is going to come out eating matukan. Okay.
It's interesting. The English word they use the translation. I don't know if it's the same in Hebrew. They call them wardens of charity.
Wardens of charity, the gabbai tzedakah.
Right. That's a strange word to use. Wardens of charity.
What would you?
I think you think of like a shomer, maybe a shomer, rather
but
than.
But shomer is a Hebrew word. If you're translating it, you're going to translate.
Right. So what
what's in English?
Hebrew, what's in English is wardens of charity. What's the Hebrew here for this?
If not warden, what would it be?
I thought it'd be shomer.
But shomer is Hebrew.
A watchman or a watchmen of charity. No.
Yeah, that's right. But that is the idea: is that they are guardians. They have a certain responsibility, and they're looking after it, and they do have some dinim of a shomer.
Right.
They're looking after money that belongs to tzedakah, and if it gets into nezikin, what happens if the money gets lost? Are they going to be responsible?
It's just that we always, I don't know anyone else. I always think of wardens are like a prison warden, they're looking after prisoners, it doesn't seem to fit with the right, that's what I mean.
But the word warden isn't necessarily associated with a prison, but it does associate guardianship.
Right.
Yeah.
The guardians of charity or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like superheroes.
Yeah. That's true.
Okay. So according to Beis Shammai, you got to make sure that everyone is eating matukan. Chachamim omrim govin stam umechalkin stam v'arotzi letakin. So there's no need to go into all that. Just collect what you collect and give it out what you give out. And if the aniyim want to be machmir on themselves and separate out chumas maser before they eat, and maser sheni or maser oni, whatever they need to separate out, then they can be machmir on themselves, but it's not up to the gabbai tzedakah to make sure, because again it looks like Beis Shammai hold like the opinion that says that that the aniyim have to make sure that they eat mitzukan, where the chachamim are saying no, it's fine to the aniyim can eat whatever they want to eat, and if they don't want to separate out, they don't have to. Okay. Mishna Beis, Harote lachzon ale yarak lehakel mimasao. So there's a guy who's traveling on the roads, and he's got a big load, and he's just finding that it is too much on his cart, and he feels like, you know what, I don't need all of the stuff. Let me just chop off a bit of it and toss it on the side. Okay. Lo yashlich ad sheyaser. He's not allowed to toss it until he's taken maaseh from it. Right? Why is that? Because somebody else might come from behind him, and it could be an Amma Aretz who says, "Oh, look, hefka vegetables. I'll take them." And meanwhile, and he's going to be eating tevel.
Right.
So he's got to make sure that it's mitzukan before he tosses it. So he's got to take the maaseh before he does. Okay. Halokeach yarak min hashuk v'nim lach lahachzir. Now here's another case. There's a guy standing in the shuk, and he's looking through the piles of vegetables, and he picks up a nice one, and he's ready to buy it. So he's picked it up, and he says, "I like this one," and he's about to pay for it, and he says, "Oh wow, there's another one over there that looks even better."
But you already made a kinyan.
He's already made a kinyan.
Right.
So now he can't put it back because he's buying from an Amma Aretz. He can't put it back until he's taken maaseh from it, and then he has to compensate the seller for the loss. Right? So if he takes maaseh from it, it's on his cheshbon, not the seller's cheshbon, because the seller can taina, but I've taken chumas and masters. Why don't you trust me? And he's going, well, because you're an Amma Aretz. But okay, so fine, don't trust me, but then take your lack of trust on your cheshbon, not mine.
Right.
Okay, so he's not allowed to return it unless he takes maaseh from it. The only thing that he had to do was pay. And when we're talking about metaltalin, the kinyan is made by hagbah or by mashicha, not by kesef. So once he's made the kinyan, all he has to do is pay the money and to complete the deal. He'd already become chayiv in the money when he picked it up like that. Okay, so haya omed v'lokeach. But if he's standing and taking things, and he hasn't yet made a kinyan, he hasn't actually picked it up, and he sees something else that looks better than it. So it's omed v'lokeach. Now what is omed v'lokeach? Omed v'borer yerek leknosov adain lo lekacho l'shem kinyan. So right, so he hasn't made the kinyan yet, and he sees something better than the one he'd already set his mind on. Mutar lachzir mipnei shelo mashach. That he's allowed to leave back because he never took it into his own possession, and therefore he's allowed to swap it. Okay.
So that would happen. Let's say I went into a store and I wanted to buy a tablet. I go in and I see this tablet. I look and I say, I'm going to buy this thing. And I pick it up. Now I made a kinyan because I picked it up.
So that's not okay. So modern the modern way of buying is not like that. That you haven't that when you're inside the store, it seems like the derech haolam is that you haven't made the kinyan until you've actually taken it to the kuppah, and you're allowed to return it to the shelf at any point. That seems to be that's the common understanding, and all of these laws of kinyanim are according to minhag Medina. We'll always see that it's according to minhag Medina. And the minhag Medina also is that if you break something inside the store, then you own it. Okay, so that's taken that once if you broke it, you caused the nezik, you have to pay the nezik.
That's why we don't bring kids into a china shop, little kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But that I mean, now that you mention that, that's actually a very interesting shaila in halacha, because me'ikar adin, you are not chayav for the damage that your children cause. You're chayav for your animals because they're your mammon, but children are independent beings, and a child who's under bar mitzvah is pater from nezikin, as we say that children say chereshat v'katan pegia sanra. We saw that it's a bad idea to get involved in anything involving chereshat v'katan because they can be awarded damages, but you cannot award damages against them. So anytime you get into a tangle with them, you're going to come off second best. Although we do say that the children, if they're righteous people, that when they grow up, they should pay the damages that they caused when they were younger.
Right. Yeah.
But you can't be mechayev that. You
Good
can't be
luck with
mechayev
that.
that, right?
My wife saw. She showed it to me. She saw a nice shaila in a din that someone worked in a store, in a grocery store, and he was very much into money, and he recognized all the bills if they were unique and special or whatever. So someone gave him someone bought something for $40 and gave him two 20s. He gave him the change. It came out to $38.99 and gave him the change. And he recognized that one of the $20 bills, not spelling, but $20 bills, had a special mark on the numbers or something, which meant that it was a valuable bill.
Really, it was worth more than its face
it
value.
was 30 than the face value. So he kept that 20 and put a 20 in the cash register. So he wasn't stealing it. He just put 20 in. So the question was, but that really belongs to the owner of the store. So that was, so
Right. So now that's a.
yeah. So they went through the whole thing, and they came out that the Beit Din said that the owner would never even know. He got the $20. He wasn't stealing it. He got the $20, and the owner wouldn't even know. He would just count the money out and put it away, and that's it.
So now the question is, it makes a difference if let me just pause a second. Okay.
Yeah, my kids are always saying that my kids say that the little guy always needs help with the Zoom. The second grade.
This one needs help with a game on a tablet. So
that's a different story.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Paya Zion
base.
base.
Zion base. If an olive tree standing among three rows of two rectangles was forgotten, it is not shicha. If an olive tree which contains two saws were forgotten, it is not shicha. When does this apply? When he has not begun. But if he had begun, even as the tofa olive in his time, and he forgot it, it's shicha. As long as he has under it, it is at his top. Reb Meir says from the time the makhaba, right? No, makhaba is gone. Which is parrot, which falls off at the time of the vintage. If while a person was harvesting, he cut the cluster by its stalk, it became entangled in the leaves. It fell from his hand to the ground and was separated. Then this belongs to the owner. If he sets down the basket under the vine when he is harvesting, then he robs the poor. Of him it is said, remove not the landmark of those who come up. Which is olet, whatever has neither kataf nor netaf. If it has kataf or netaf, to the owner. If there is a doubt, to the poor. Olet is in the joint. If it is snipped off with a cluster, then it belongs to the owner. If not, then it belongs to the poor. A single berry, Rabbi Yehuda says cluster, but the comment says olet. Okay.
That's it. Brachas. Dalet base.
Okay. Dalet base. When Nehemiah ben Hakana would enter the base midrash and depart, he would offer a short prayer. They asked him, what place is there for this prayer? And he said to them, when entering, I pray that no stumbling block should arise through me. And when I leave, I give thanks for my lot. Rabbi Gamil states every person is obliged to recite Shemona Esrei daily. Rabbi Yeshua says a digest of Shemona Esrei. Rabbi Kiva says if his prayer is fluent in his mouth, he recites Shemona Esrei, and if not, a digest of the 18. Rabbi Eliezer says if one makes the tefillah of a fixed task, his tefillah is not a supplication. Rabbi Yeshua says anyone journeying in a place of danger may recite a short petition. Save, O Lord, your people Israel when there's a straying to transgression. Let their needs be before you. Blessed are you, O Lord, who hearkens unto prayer. Okay. By the way, you know that game they call Minecraft?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never actually played it. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. The little 7.5-year-old, he plays this thing like nothing. And I can't figure, I don't know what he's doing. I can't figure this thing out. They have these blocks that look like monsters. I have no idea. So he said he would teach me, but I just, because he wants to play like a cross, I should play against him, or we should play against me. I asked him if he wants to play chess, that's
Yeah, okay. Put us on a level playing field, yeah.
On the apron of pitchworkers, of potters, or of tree pruners, it does not intervene. Rabbi Yehuda says the same applies to the apron of fruit dryers. This is the general rule. Anything which one finds disturbing intervenes. Anything which one does not find disturbing does not intervene. turned the wrong way. Okay.
Hmm.
All handles of utensils that were inserted improperly or they were inserted properly, but they were not finished, or they were finished but became broken, these intervene. A vessel was immersed with his mouth downwards as though it was not immersed. If it
Right.
was
Well,
immersed,
because he's kept an air bubble underneath the thing, so it's kilo, it's not inside the
right.
mikveh.
If it was immersed the normal way but without its appendage, it does not become tahor unless it is turned on its side. A vessel which is narrow at both ends and wide in the middle cannot become tahor unless it is turned on its side. A bottle whose rim is turned downwards cannot become tahor unless it is pierced on the side. And a layman's inkwell cannot become tahor unless it is pierced on its side. Rabbi Yosef HaKohen inkwell was pierced on its side. Why do we say a layman, by the way? Why can't it be just
It's I think 'cause there were slightly different shaped kalim. The layman's thing. I mean, you've got pictures in there, don't you?
right,
Of,
right. Yeah, it's a little I see the difference. Okay. All
there's
right.
nothing. So it's right. It's not about the person. It's just about the kli.
Please.
They have different shaped kalim. So
A mattress or cushion of leather require that the water should enter into them. But a round pillow or ball, a stuffed form, an amulet, or a tefillah does not require that the water should enter into them.
right. So
This is
so
the
things
general.
things that right. Okay. Carry on.
This is the general rule. Anything whose contents are not usually put in and are taken out may be immersed unopened.
Right. So that's our general rule. I was just about to say, and then I saw it at the end of the mission, is that if something is generally not opened, then there's no reason to open it before you put it in the mikveh.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Right. Kalim Vav Gimel.
Three stones were made into two ovens. No, that's wrong. Three stones were made into two stoves. If one of the outer stones became tame, the part of the middle stone that serves the tame stone is tame, and the part that serves the tahor stone is tahor. If the tahor stone was removed, the middle stone becomes entirely tame. If the tame stone was removed, the middle stone becomes entirely tahor. If the two outer stones became tame, if the middle stone was large, one allots as much as is needed to set a pot on either side, and the remainder is tahor. But if it was small, it is entirely tame. If the middle stone was removed, if a large cauldron can be set upon the stove, it is tame. If the stone was returned, it is tahor. And if the stone was plastered with clay, it will be susceptible to tumor from when it heats up enough to cook the egg on it.
So just pause a second over here. I mean, this mission over here is like really an amazing chiddush because normally we say stone is completely impervious to tumor, but this is stone wearing a hat as part of a stove. Okay, so once it's part of a stove, then it has this property of being able to be partially tame, and its tame is allowed to come and go depending on which side of the stove it's servicing. Is it servicing something else that's tame, or is it servicing something else that's tahor? And the tuma comes and goes according to other parts of the stove. And if you take it out, then once again it returns to its own tahara, because now it's just a stone again. So if you ever have a trivia question of where is something that can be half tameh, half tahor, and can become tahor based on something else becoming tahor,
Right.
so this is your case over here. It's there's nothing else like it.
Two stones were made into a stove and became tame. And then one placed a stone next to it, one of the tame stones, on one side, and a stone next to the other tame stone on the other half. Half of one tame stone is tame, and half of it is tahor, and half of the other tame stone is tame, and the half of it is tahor. The tahor stones are removed; the others return to the state of tuma.
There you go again.
And the stove bases of householders was collapsed. If it was less than 3 handbreadths, it is tame, since one heats it from below, and the pot up above will cook. But if it was more than that, it is tahor. If one inserted a stone or pebble, it is tahor. If he plastered it with clay, it will be susceptible to tumor from then on. And this was the response of Rabbi Yehuda regarding the oven that was placed over the mouth of a pit or over the mouth of a cistern. Okay.
Baba Basra, hey Vav.
There are 4 rules for dealing with sales. If he sold him superior wheat and it was found to be inferior, the buyer can retract. If he sold him inferior wheat and it was found to be superior, the seller can retract. If he sold them inferior wheat and it was found to be inferior, or superior wheat and it was found to be superior, neither can retract. If he sold them red wheat and it was found to be white, or white wheat and it was found to be red, or he sold them olive wood and it was found to be sycamore, or sycamore and it was found to be olive, for he sold him wine and it was found to be vinegar, or vinegar and it was found to be wine, both of them can retract. If one sold produce to another, if he drew it but did not measure it, he has acquired it. If he measured it but did not draw it, he has not acquired it. If he is prudent, he rents its space. One who buys flax from another does not acquire it until he moves it from place to place. If it was attached to the ground, he detached any amount, he's acquired it. And if one sold wine or oil to another and appreciated or depreciated, if it happened before the measure was filled, it belongs to the seller. Once the measure was filled, it belongs to the seller. Once the measure was filled, it belongs to the buyer. If there was a middleman between them and the barrel broke, it broke for the middleman. He is obligated to let 3 drops drip out for him, and if he turns it over and drained it, it belongs to the seller. The storekeeper, however, is not obligated to let 3 drops slip out. And Yehuda says only on the eve of Shabbos at dusk is he exempt.
Right, because that's the time when he's belachatz, and you don't have time to sit waiting for 3 drops
That's
to
right.
come out and complete the measure. Okay, and finally Yoma,
Mhm.
base Gimel.
The sound lot, I'm sorry, the second lot was to determine who slaughters, who throws the blood, who cleans the ashes from the inner altar, who clears the ashes from the menorah, who brings the limbs of the daily burnt offering to the ramp. The head and the hind leg, the 2 forelegs, the tail and the hind leg, the breast and the neck, the 2 sides and the intestines, the fine flour, the chavita meal offering, and the wine. 13 Kohan won it. Ben Azai and Rebbe Kiva's presence quoted Rebbe Shua. It was offered in the same way as it walked. The third lot, those new to the incense come and draw lots. And the fourth lot was for the new and old, to determine who takes the limbs up from the ram to the altar. The daily sacrifice was offered with 9 Kohanim, or with 10, or with 11, or with 12, no less than no more. How so? The sacrifice itself with 9. On Sukkot, one held a flask of water in his hand, thus we have 10. In the afternoon with 11, the sacrifice itself with 9, plus 2 who held 2 logs in their hands. On Shabbos with 11, the sacrifice itself with 9, plus 2 who held the 2 spoons of frankincense on the punim bread in their hands. And on Shabbos during Sukkot, one held a flask of water in his hand.
That's it.
Did you go to shul yesterday?
I did.
Yeah, it was open. I couldn't believe it was open because I didn't see that they changed any of the rules about.
Oh, we're doing. Let me just pause this.